The end of the world began with a signature in blood from King Lothair. He did not stop with a mere victory to keep the dwarves at bay. He wished to wipe them from existence. King Lothair had his wish come true when whisperings came to him in a dream that promised to wipe out the dwarven race. But to do so required the drawing of an arcane sigil with his own royal blood. Though his advisors objected to this madness the next morning, King Lothair drew a sacrificial blade across his arm, and drew this sigil of genocide along the throne room floor. As soon as the last line was drawn, there came a violent shaking from the earth that split the throne room floor in two. The silence that followed was deafening. There was no more cannon fire smashing into the capital's walls, nor dwarven war cries. The mysterious entity did what it had promised. The dwarves were no more. They were dead to a mysterious affliction that left their fallen bodies in pools of black oil. The celebration of the victory over dwarves did not last long, for the sigil not only brought this strange affliction, but was in fact a doorway to the chaos beyond. The archfiend Burperos was this whisperer, and this deceiver burst into the world with a fury of fire and ash. They brought with them his army, 5 archfiends, his elite warriors, and millions of demons. That day marked the beginning of a new reign. There was no match for the ferocity and the power of the demons. They easily slaughtered the thousands of soldiers who stood to fight against them. In moments, they swarmed the streets, or killing and capturing as they pleased. Now the name of the king is said with spitting hatred by the scant few who survived. The Ravaged Wastelands of Crifoth is a D&D 5th edition supplement by Dice on Ice, which is composed of Megan Hambrock and Connor Davies. The art for Crifoth was done by Brandish Gilhelm of Runehammer Games, as well as Lloyd Collins. It was originally launched on Kickstarter and is currently available at drivethrurpg.com. The setting is basically hell on earth. Not exactly Earth, but a fantasy world in which dwarves are dead, elves have either all died, left, or mutated, and all that's left are humans, Incarnum, Orcs, Surrey, and Tieflings. Well, there are these things too. Megan and Connor did a great job with the backstory of Crifoth, setting up a hellish world that doesn't have much hope left. In reading through this well laid out 157-page supplement, I did not get the impression that the player characters would ever be able to do much to save Crifoth from the demon infestation, and I liked that. In the story, the most powerful archfiend, Burperos, has subjugated humans like livestock in these massive pulsing flesh towers, eating them for their souls, which give him power one small meal at a time. But it gets more interesting. There are 4 other named archfiends, each less powerful than Burperos, but vastly tougher than any party and nearly impossible to kill. These archfiends, Volkrath, Vaituzar, Bouchon, and Jaymaran, each occupy a named stronghold that has their own ecosystem of lesser demons and throngs of enslaved humans. What makes each of these archfiends, including Burperos, fascinating is that each of them comes with an appearance table that gives them a variety of different horrifying looks. And more importantly, they each have a rumors table as well as a main goal table, and these tables are outstanding and can act as a source of big bad backstories for any of your campaigns with a little adaptation. As a nod to DIY gamers, Megan and Connor throw in a 6th main archfiend, one which also has tables, but is left for you to name and tweak. Humans in Crifoth have been imbued with a special spiritual power that grants them magic, which is why the archfiends raise them like cattle and eat them. The human souls are like a drug to these hellish overlords, but humans can lose their special spiritual power when they consume the blood of a demon. Just to be clear, demons are lesser iterations of the archfiends and roam the ravaged wastelands of Crifoth like millions of predatory rats. Here's the thing, none of them look like people with pitchforks. They're all strange and horrifying, and no two look alike. If you've ever seen or read the manga or anime series Berserk, you'd know what I'm talking about when I say demon. The demons are the immediate source of the destruction all over the land, and their blood turns humans into tieflings, which kind of are people with pitchforks. These tieflings then fall into two main categories: those who oppose the archfiends, known as blood knights, and those who serve the archfiends in exchange for support, including more demon blood to keep them alive, called the legion. There's an entire ranking system for both blood knights and legionnaires that suggests that players should try to play as tieflings, which brings up a very important point. If you're not into tieflings, demons, blood, and gore, you're probably going to want to skip this supplement. Megan and Connor also detailed a handful of regions along the coast, each with their own hellish flavor. The Sands, a vast red and yellow desert full of dust storms and death-dealing dunes. The Scar, a maze of sharp dagger-like rocks and canyons filled with lava. And then a sea of acid off the coast, and a mysterious land to where the elves were thought to have retreated and sealed off long ago by magical means. Included are 7 full pages of tables to randomly generate terrain, ruins, and sundry dark oddities to be found within. What makes Crifoth so punishing is not necessarily the setting. After all, PCs, especially in 5e, can grow in power and over time amass levels and loot that could conceivably crush even an archfiend. But that assumes that your PC survives. At the heart of this book is the blood and grit system. To summarize, instead of actual hit points, you have a 2-layer hit point system. Your outer layer is grit, of which you get a lot of. Using the 5e rules, you get the maximum hit dice value per character level, so a 3rd level fighter gets 30 grit. But if you're down to 0 grit points, you have to roll disadvantage on all attack rolls, and attacks against you take the advantage roll. That's extremely rough. Your inner layer of hit points is called blood points. You don't get many of those. Using 5e rules, your blood points equal your con modifier plus your strength modifier plus your level. When you are down to half or less of your blood points, you move at half speed and you have to spend a turn to stop your bleeding. Blood and grit points make things very real, very fast. It gets even deadlier. If an attacker rolls a critical hit, the damage goes directly to your blood points, or you can sacrifice precious armor to absorb the damage. As if that weren't enough, there is a black sludge that has spread across the land called affliction. It can be found almost everywhere, and it's relatively easy to get infected by it. Once you're afflicted, you begin suffering ill effects and mutations. The only treatment is to drink demon blood and become a tiefling. Oh, there are also 2 suns that apex at the same time every day for an hour and bake you for 6 grit points if you can't find shelter. Megan and Connor did a massive workup of tables that can allow you to create your own tribe. Due to the fact that Crifoth is a blasted hellhole, there are no towns or cities. You have tribes, each of which is competing for water and food, and contain their own traditions, rituals, and culture. As for races, here's a very quick rundown. Elves. The only ones left are ash elves, and they are no longer immortal. They have large lion-rabbit animal companions called bounders, and they are generally literate and chaotic good. Humans. They are in bad shape as a whole. Unlike the ash elves, they haven't physically adapted to the environment. They are seen as prey, but they have a respectable spread of race bonuses that make them playable. Incarnum, a creation of the primordials, a sort of amorphous race of naturalistic gods that is loosely opposed to the demons. The Incarnum are elemental beings that range wildly in their core nature, but the 3 examples given in the book are Stormborn, Cinderborn, and Dustborn, all of which have element-related powers and abilities. Orcs. These are demon hunters by trade, and perhaps the non-tiefling heroes of Crifoth. They hunt as a tribe, and each tribe requires their young to slaughter demons as a rite of passage. Due to the blood point system, their strength and constitution bonuses are particularly important. Suri. Lizard folk that come in sizes large and small. They are more animal than man, and that presents a challenge to players who want to have a normal conversation at the table. Nevertheless, they are fully realized in the book, and more prone to survival than other races in the setting. This book changes the origins of the tieflings from the D&D 5th edition player's handbook. In 5e, Tieflings are the result of an ancient pact with Asmodeus that has carried through the generations. In Crifoth, Tieflings are always born as humans, but at some point in their lives consume demon blood and undergo the transformation. The transformation is not guaranteed and can be fatal, and players who choose the Tiefling path must grapple with the blood addiction, or face a painful bleaching and become a clear-skinned outcast. As for classes, you have all the 5e classes but flavored for the hellish apocalypse. It's enough to say that if you are generally okay with 5e's classes, you'll like these hellscape variants. The clerics, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards each get extra love in this book. There's even more to cover here, like the backgrounds, skills, and feats, but that's just icing on the blood velvet cake. If you have enjoyed the artwork you've seen from this book, then it's worth the price to pick it up just for that alone. Most, if not all, of the illustrations were done by Brandish Gilhelm of Runehammer Games. He has made dozens of drawing streams and videos that dissect his style of art, including a few in which you can watch him draw the illustrations found in the Crifoth book. If your players are ready to take on unfathomable darkness and are okay with letting the red and the black fluids seep into their pores, then Crifoth is a great fit. The setting itself, coupled with the harsh grit and blood point system, could make for a very memorable series of brutal encounters, and you never know. There's a chance, just a chance, that your party could take down an archfiend or even deliver Crifoth from darkness. All the links to stuff are in the description below. Thanks for visiting. This is Dave, signing off. See ya.